to another Just 5 Mins, just when you thought it was all over. Okay, so what have we got this time around? We've got YARP, and this is probably only going to be funny if you live in the UK and in the West Country. YARP. But anyway, the link to Hot Fuzz is it's in the show notes anyway. If you haven't seen it, it's a good film anyway. It's a good laugh. But there's a bit in there that will explain YARP. But anyway, here we go. So YARP, and more importantly, we're back to API gateways. And I covered this actually in there's a couple of episodes back, and YARP actually a little while ago. But it's cropped up more and more these days. And it's an interesting thing because YARP is yet another reverse proxy. That's what it stands for. But it's got a humorous side to it as well. But anyway, the idea is that you can use a reverse proxy, and there's a difference between the API gateways and reverse proxies. So in reality, I guess a reverse proxy is commonly used for, not exclusively, but load balancing, caching, security, and SSL termination. Okay, they're just a few of the main points, I suppose. So the idea is YARP or any reverse proxy, Nginx or Nginx or whatever they call it on Unix is another one. There's lots of these around. But the difference between YARP is you can actually have this in front of your own web services or whatever on your own infrastructure. That's it. You can configure it. It's application driven. You develop all the whatever bits that you want, the security, the routing or routing, whichever way you want to call it. So that's the idea, is that you can have all your APIs and something like YARP, a reverse proxy, in front. So it's not exposed directly to the outside world, technically. Okay, so an API gateway is a little bit more roundabout things like request routing and composition. You can do request response transformations, authentication, authorization, rate limiting, monitoring, and even though you can do some of that, like the authorization and authentication rather in something like YARP, a reverse proxy. There's a lot of these API gateways, like Azure have got API management, AWS have got theirs, Google have got theirs, all the rest of it. But the idea is that's a separate service that undoubtedly you've got to obviously pay for. And there's two actually gateways. Even though I've used the Azure API management quite a bit over the years, the one, and I don't get paid for this, by the way, the one that really I'm really enjoying, I listened to a podcast from Scott Hanselman with Josh Twist, I think his name is, from Zuplo. Again, I'm not plugging it for any financial things, but Zuplo, I'll put the links below, but I must admit, Zuplo is, for me, if you're going to go with a paid service, they cover, actually it's quite clever. You've got programmatic sort of API gateway sort of stuff going on. And they give you literally global access. So it's all the way to the edge, as they call it. Okay. And it's got the benefit of having all of that lovely API management, authorization. You can actually monetize your APIs and whatnot. Personally, I think that one for me at the moment is a standout one. But there's one that I haven't tried yet called Treblle. It's spelled Treblle with double L, by the way. I'll put the links below. Again, both of these, Zuplo and Treblle, I've got free accounts. Obviously, they're limited in certain ways, but basically to get started. And Treblle seems to have a similar sort of concept. I guess the point being is whether you pick one of the big techs like Google, Azure, whatever, or one of these Zuplo or Trebbles, you're still sort of investing, I suppose, in a third-party system to manage your APIs. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but something like YARP, where you can actually host it yourself and wherever you want it to go. And it seems to be YARP is used actually internally at Microsoft as well, in Azure, in fact. But also, if you're working with microservices and whatnot, you probably will need something like that to actually gateway through to all the different microservices and not have to handle all the authentication on every individual microservice. But anyway, there's the info for this time. I've gone over 5 minutes as usual. Also, though, I am actually trying to be a little bit more serious and get just 15 minutes going, which is the YouTube video side of things where I can show a few more things. So I will be getting that up and running shortly. But for now, I'm going to stop talking, wish you a good week ahead, and we'll catch you on the next one.